Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Anime Lady Dragon Ball Super video. And I'm your host, so the legend D-Vash, and here and with the bro tacos. We're here first, my co-host, and I'm here the first to introduce Kendall X Anime from the Conquer Movement, aka Kyle Kendall. And also, he's not a Z fighter because all they do is win slow, and he's much smarter like Vegeta, but without the ego. And he definitely has a Simpson beam because he don't have the Baruto because it's trash. And for the second and last but not least, is our special guest from Star Popaholics. They bring you everything in the pop culture and weekly reviews of movies and TV categories. He is your co-host of the weekly upload, a husband, a student, a thinker, a writer, and most importantly, an entertainer. And his name is Chris Conklin. How we all doing, gentlemen?
How's it going, man? It's great to be officially dubbed a brotaku.
A
My first appearance on Anime Lately.
Yes.
And you've also made me realize that my Twitter bio says I'm many fucking things.
Yeah, because I tried to research, like, you know what, Chris is coming on the show. I haven't done a good intro in the past couple weeks like I should have. Let me actually put the effort into it. And you know what, Chris is his first show. It's not the anime podcast. It's a Dragon Ball Super solo video. But let me at least give the love and dedication like we always do. So that's why I felt like you needed.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, finally inviting me on Anime Lately. It's my pleasure to be here.
For those that see the title and the thumbnail, this is a Dragon Ball Super Chapter 84 review and overall of the Granolah arc and how has it been so far, how we were feeling, and what do we expect to see from the ending, because, you know, we're reaching its climax. We know we're a couple of chapters left to end this arc. So we know Toriyama could be fucking it up like usually, or we might get something sweet and simple and not have a sour taste. So let's get to the meat and all. But before you guys get to the discussion, don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like the video, subscribe, comment all your thoughts about said coverage of Dragon Ball Super manga, because this would be an ongoing thing for the next couple months that myself, Chris, and maybe James and Ray will be joining us for the Dragon Ball Super coverage solo videos, because this is what we plan to do, continue doing for the next couple of months from here forward. So if you like what we did, I hope you was entertained. But Chris, since you were here first to the channel itself and the Dragon Ball Super thoughts, spit us your knowledge of what you felt like for the Granolah arc so far since it started, I think, since chapter 64. I believe that we have reached a 20 chapter mark for this chapter overall. How you been
84,
feeling?
Right? You know, I was telling you a little off mic before we started that I've been watching Dragon Ball since I was a kid, and it's been a long journey with this franchise. And considering we haven't had any Dragon Ball Super anime for the last couple of years, I've really just tried to have as much fun as I possibly can with the Dragon Ball Super manga. I don't take it too seriously, so the bad things can kind of fall by the wayside. The fun things are exceptionally entertaining. In terms of the Granolah arc, I love when Toriyama and Toyotaro try to expand the Dragon Ball world and the universe and the mythology. So getting to see like the Cerealians with Granolah and how that planet's turned out, and we're getting a glimpse into like more surviving Namekians with Monaito, learning a little bit more about other Dragon Balls that exist in the universe. Like, all this lore stuff is great. Yes, the arc, just like the last arc, has its ups and its downs, but there are still some really cool things to be had within it. So overall, I'll say I'm having a fun time.
For those that don't know, Dragon Ball Super anime that was coming out weekly from Toei was done in March 25th, 2018. Almost 4 years ago and in 2 months about to be. So just it gives you an idea of how long the anime has been out. But since then, they have Broly, and now they have the most superhero coming out this coming summer release made by Crunchyroll worldwide. So that's something that we cannot wait to find out and see how many complaints we're about to hear from the CG animation. But that's at the topic later. Kendall, how have you been feeling about the impression of yours for the Granolah arc? Because we know how we felt about the Moro arc. How are you feeling about the Granolah arc so far?
I was definitely interested from the time we kind of segued into this new arc. I was a little hesitant on where we would go next because Moro was such a good bad. Such a good villain, top 3 villain in the verse, honestly, easily, hands down, in my personal opinion. And much like I was saying earlier, when Chris was asked, I think that up until the last 3 chapters of that arc, it was the second best arc ever written by Toriyama. Like it literally was like it's right up there with Cell, it's right up there with the Tournament of Power. It's definitely a top 5 arc for me, without having to put too much thought into what I would actually make the top 5 arcs of the series. But I would easily dub it there across all the franchises, as well as including Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball GT. I think it's a top 5 arc.
Wow.
Really compelling writing. Like I said, yeah, if I had to think about it real quick, like I said, Tournament of Power, this Cell Saga, original Dragon Ball arc, I think well through the original tournament, big tournament, is one of my favorites. I can rewatch that tournament arc over and over and over again. And then honestly throw whatever you want into the 5th slot without thinking too hard about it. But for sure, those are really good. Oh, I guess Dragon Ball GT's the evil Dragon Ball arc, the final arc.
The Dark Dragon, I think it's called. The Dark Dragon, something like that.
Yep, the Necro Dragon Balls, whatever you want to call them. But like I said, and that's just roping all of the verses together. Again, that's just to put how much acclaim I would put behind. And I think a lot of people thought that and felt like, I think that's why a lot of people were frustrated that we weren't getting the anime season right after, because we really got like right after Broly, we pretty much had the conclusion of the Moro arc, and then it was like, well, where's the new season? You already gave us a movie, where's the new season? And here we are, like you were just saying, it's like we're still kind of waiting to get back into the swing of things. But I think it was a smart strategic standpoint. I think so. If people don't know, we got the beginning of Dragon Ball Super animation before we got the manga. Yep, so right. Now the manga is ahead of the anime, justifiably so. So I think now Toriyama can really execute the story the way that he really wants to, where if he did something in the manga, he didn't like it, he can adjust it in the anime, versus he did things in the anime and clearly he didn't really like how he did it in the anime, because he did it completely different in the manga for the Tournament of Power. Like, I mean, it's a different, he actually needs to redo the anime of the Tournament of the Power, because it's a whole nother series.
I prefer the manga story of the Tournament of Power over the anime.
What typically happens is Toriyama creates an outline of what he wants to happen in this particular arc, and then he goes, here you go, Toei, here you go, Shueisha, fill in the blanks, you know? So that's why we have that's why we have similar beats in the Dragon Ball Super anime and the Dragon Ball Super manga, but you have the writers of the anime and Toyotaro changing things ever so slightly, because they're like, okay, this is how I would fill in the blanks,
right?
You know, like in the manga we get way more Super Saiyan God, you know, the red form, because Toyotaro is a huge fan of that form, and then we don't see it as much in the anime.
That in the Broly movie, where he brings in the red form definitively once back again, right, in the Broly movie as well,
right? So that's why all those like weird changes are there between the two. But I agree. I think this is also a great opportunity for the manga and the anime to align a little bit. You know, it's also a great opportunity for production, because I don't know if you guys remember, but
those bad,
the first couple seasons of Super were pretty rough because of how rushed production was. So I think
they just didn't need to animate the movie as episodes. Right. If they had saved all of that money and put that into the actual episodes, it would have been fine.
Yeah, I think Toei made the right choice, kind of pumping the brakes a little bit and focusing on making sure the production is great the first time around. So I'm excited for whatever might come in the future here in regards to the anime.
For my thoughts for the Granolah arc, for those that don't know, I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball GT. I don't care what publicly say, people will shame me or not. I will say Super Saiyan 4 still one of my favorite evolution. It gives to the lore of the Saiyans, to the monkeys, to the pure power of the moon, and etc. That's the reason why, transition to it, I love the Granolah arc for certain reasons of the Saiyan lore that we, in the beginning of the arc, we got our man Beerus, even giving a lecture to Vegeta, understand your hatred, understand the destruction, understand that what fuels your hate towards the Saiyan pride. Why do you act like this so aggressively? And viewers who's a person to act so angry over fucking pudding is giving a lecture to Vegeta. I find it so poetic in such a beautiful way, in such a symbolic where he literally teaches you to understand your own self and your own heritage. Who are a person who Vegeta never took the time to understand himself, who always just continue after arc, just getting mad, or have a kid, have a wife, and everything, but never took the time to actually he just trained, but never understood himself. So during this arc, yes, we don't know how Toriyama is going to end this arc or not, but so far of just lore wise, I'm a person. Yes, Dragon Ball overall and Heroes is known for its fights for the shonen type. But when you get to have that lore, I just enjoyed that nice little flavor. I enjoyed that little nice seasoning. And so far, Granolah arc, I've been enjoying a bit more than Moro, just because it's been more one-sided. In Moro arc, it was more about Vegeta's growth. In this arc, it's about Vegeta heritage, but also about Goku learning about himself and actually getting this message about his father, learning like this chapter and like 3 or 4 or 5 past chapters is him asking himself about his father. It's him wondering about his father, and him asking for the first time we hear about Bardock. Yes, may have there been some retcons about certain characters? Yes. But do I give a fuck about that? No, because guess what? This is a series that's been going on for almost 20-something years. Of course, you're going to have retcons because you get some improvement of certain characters that you want to get better.
40 years, bro.
Get 40 years. My fault, because it's been going since the 80s. I was going to say 30 originally, but in my head, I'm like, I'm going to say 20.
Things.
I appreciate
three
that.
Things.
What's up, Kendall?
First thing, I don't care how you retcon this, you need to make a Bardock movie again, Toriyama.
I agree.
That was one of the
that.
best. Those were some of the best movies in the entire franchise.
We should.
The second thing is that the point that you even talked on in regards to Vegeta and the conversation with Beerus is like, you have to remember that Beerus is very much so. Beerus is almost hyper aware of Saiyans. Like he was cautiously aware of Saiyans.
He ain't stupid. He acts stupid, but he ain't.
And the thing is, the reason he can be as angry is kind of like almost like the whole thing is like, I'm in control of the anger. So he knows that the negative emotions, power, the destructive energy that he has to manipulate. So he's when you see him flying off, he's not out of control. He's really embracing the true essence of who he is as a god of destruction. And he's telling, he's basically telling Vegeta to do the same thing. Look, you may not want to be a god of destruction. You may not want to go down the same path that Goku is going down. However, what you need to do to figure out who you really are is to be true to yourself. And so we've seen basically that kind of like seesaw. The Tournament of Power was, you saw some of that for Vegeta, but it was really more about Goku, Ultra Instinct. The whole everything leading up to that was Goku. And then, like you said, in Moro, there's some Goku development, but it's really more so about Vegeta's development, Vegeta breaking his boundaries and going against the grain. When I was like, look, I know this is something that Goku learned. These are skills that Goku learned, but I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna pick up these skills too, because I need to get ahead. And understanding that, like, what am I actually searching for is the question here. And in searching for themselves so hard and kind of pushing their limits of their powers so hard, they lost kind of the focus. And so what we got in these last 2 chapters was a recentering of both characters simultaneously. Bardock being not necessarily and considered, because he was top tier, but he wasn't at one of the elites, so to speak. He's like, well, at least in the canon that we have right now, they haven't definitively defined him as an elite. He was definitely one of the top tiers. He was definitely one of the best fighters on the planet, just based off of the story and the relationships that they did showcase to us.
I would still consider him
in low rank
class based on the class system of the Saiyans.
Yeah, I'm about to say, based off of the way they spoke about him, he was definitely a low class
fighting
citizen.
Prowess.
Yes,
he's strong.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're on the same. I'm glad we're on the same page. Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page about that. So class wise, he was not like of royalty. He was not high class in any kind of way, but he was known to be and respected as one of the strong fighters. Much like obviously Goku's brother Raditz as well was already acclaimed, much like right next to Vegeta. If anything, taking class out of the picture, Raditz was higher up on the food chain than Bardock probably was. Just based off of the fact that he was doing missions alongside Vegeta. So just to even
But
put, like,
Raditz
again,
was still considered like the weakest. Like Vegeta and Nappa would rag on him consistently for being like
right,
a POS, you know?
exactly.
And
So again,
still,
there's those
just
that inner classism that existed in the Saiyans. So like again, now you have all of that tied back together into this kind of point of like, and it was good that it was Bardock, because that Bardock has a connection back to Planet Vegeta as someone who actually lived there, reside there. But then it was also something for Goku to have those core memories triggered back for him, to be able to hear the voice, to see the face in his head, not just the face of his dad, but even the face of his mom. Because that was something I did like about the retcon. In the retcon, and they showed it in the manga panel, you see that Goku is actually, he looks old enough that he should have remembered. We know that Goku, hit his head or whatever, and there's some trauma associated with that when he landed on Earth. But it was very clear, and I'm so glad that they showed that panel again with the pod. Goku was old enough to see and understand. He had on the suit, like his cognitive, he was waving, like he had an emotional distress. And realistically, I would even go as far to say probably some of that head trauma from hitting his head was the fact that he probably was already traumatized, because he probably saw the planet blow up. In the grand scheme of things, based off of sequential things, he wasn't asleep when the pod left, like in the previous iteration, like whatever, he wasn't crying and hysterical. He probably saw the planet like get destroyed and was like distraught, and then landed on this other planet, knocked his head, and his brain is just like, well, I was already trying to suppress that memory, and you've knocked like me sideways over. So it could be something to that extent. I don't know if Toriyama would ever get that deep into diving into that kind of lore, but there's subtle hints of like a little deeper thought that maybe has progressed over the timeline of Toriyama writing this series, and even reflecting back on where he wanted the characters to be. And like I said, there's so much good in this chapter. Like I said on Sunday Shonen Ronin episode, this was actually right up there with My Hero Academia for me as one of the chapters of the week that was released this week. It was really that good. It's that quality of a chapter.
With that beautiful transition that you gave, Kendall, let's talk about how do we feel about this chapter and overall, like with the convoluted of the past 5 or 10 chapters that has introduced the whole Bardock backstory and the connection with the whole Granolah. Chris, how did you feel with the whole retcon of Bardock and the connection that Goku finally understands of his pride as a Saiyan, the whole Saiyan heritage, the whole of you getting stronger while you fight is because it fuels you, like Vegeta said in the chapter. What did this chapter first impression felt for you, and Bardock, the conclusion of Bardock being reconnected to Goku's past?
So there are a lot of open-ended feelings right now from me. It's I don't want to say one way or the other whether I like or dislike what they're currently doing with the manga until we get to the end of this arc, solely because the retcon itself, I like things about it and I don't like other things about it. I like Bardock. Bardock is a fan favorite character like Broly or like Vegito, and that's why Toei and Shueisha always bring them back into whatever they're currently making, because people like seeing these characters. Because Bardock wasn't originally a creation of Toriyama, he had nothing to do with that special when it came out originally. But seeing that special inspired him, and now he's like given a chance to make Bardock what he would want Bardock to be, So elements that I like about the Bardock retcon. I like that Goku finally remembers Bardock. I think that's a really interesting way to take the character. It makes me feel as though Goku is a little more complete as a person. Goku's one of those shonen characters. While I love him deeply, he's been a huge part of my life since I was a child.
How do you
he's one of those shonen characters that doesn't have an arc, really?
That, but also how do you even ask Vegeta? I have a dad? I did not know that. Like when you literally heard about your father Bardock, and you literally your first question was like, I have a dad? Like, just no, like, my dude, how do you think you gave birth?
This is the same character that has 2 children and doesn't know what kissing is. So it seems like he has skipped some natural social steps in his life.
Somehow he has skipped home base and skipped first base, not knowing what home base is.
Good for him. So good for him. That's all I have to say. But he's not the brightest bulb. you know? So back to what I was saying, I do like adding this element into his character that he finally, over the course of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, he has become more comfortable with who he is as a Saiyan. At the end of the Broly movie, he finally acknowledges his birth given name when he says to Broly that he can call him Kakarot. That's the first time that he's ever
that was beautiful
said
too.
that. Vegeta has been the only character
He didn't even tell Vegeta
outside of like Raditz
yeah.
to call him Kakarot, but he's never acknowledged himself or even called himself by his birth given name. So I think that's kind of an arc that we've seen from Goku over the course of the anime and the manga, is that he's getting more and more comfortable. And I think having him remember Bardock, having him remember Gine is just another step into him becoming a whole person, and acknowledging where he came from.
And just to add to that as well, is that my other favorite moment of what we have been having slowly character arc of Goku is when he trained with the Galactic Patrol. That was also an angel. I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but when he was training with him as an angel, and when
Mirrors?
Mirrors, thank you. And when Mirrors asked him, "Hey Goku, why do you always give your opponents a second chance? Why do you always let them escape?" He said two answers. One is obviously stupid one, that he said that he always wants to fight them stronger. Obviously, that's a Goku answer. But
Right.
the second answer is an answer I like from Goku, and we finally get an answer that we've been asking to know why he always give Cell, Frieza, and all these other bad guys a chance, knowing that their goal is to defeat all humans and kill and dominate the planet. He said that he hopes for people to have a second chance because he hopes that people have a positive heart or positive vibe.
Right.
That's something beautiful from an MC and from any good-hearted people. And from what we know about Goku, he was
It's also
trained,
very unsaiyan-like. It's very human.
and I'm saying like because he was trained and raised by Grandpa Gohan. So it shows the human nature that he was trained by, and also like you guys brought up, because he was hit on the head as a kid. So I love how he literally said it in this panel in the chapter. I feel like I finally understand what Saiyan Pride is about. When I read that, it gave me goosebumps, not just because it's such a good line, but it's a good line coming from a character that we don't get like. So for Goku to finally understand that I remember what's about along with my dad's face. The thing is that I haven't had total faith in my power. That's also pretty interesting because it also brings back to what our boy Beer's mentor is an angel. I can't remember his name.
Talking about Whis?
Whis,
thank you, Whis. Whis has always told Goku, trust your instinct, trust your power. But guess what? Goku just answered a question that he never had the chance to actually trust his power for that reason, because he never got to know his birthright like most characters when they never know their past. Goku finally understand that. The thing is that I haven't had total faith in power. Now, would we see a different Goku in the next couple of fights, like this fight against a boy again, him go Ultra Instinct, or Gas? Are we about to see a different fight of his in the next coming arcs in the future? Are we going to see a more confident Goku that could trust his body instead of his mind more? So that'd be pretty interesting. I'm probably going off a limp, but I'm just hoping Toriyama will do this something.
I really like that interpretation.
Yeah, thank you.
This is where I kind of have a problem with the writing of the manga, and it might be the translation of the manga. To be perfectly honest, there might be more context within the Japanese language that we're just not capable of getting when it's translated into English. And when Goku says stuff like, "I haven't been able to trust my power," okay, so we're obviously missing a little bit of context here. Is Goku saying, "I haven't been able to trust my Ultra Instinct power," which I think is what he's actually saying, because he seems to me to have been pretty confident in all of his Super Saiyan abilities,
1, 2,
his
and
Kaioken
3
abilities, like everything through Dragon Ball.
But in the God in Blue,
comfortable.
It don't seem like he could always trust it because he feels like it's so new to him,
right?
And it's not from him, since it's something more out of the Saiyan realm. It's more of the you try to tap into more something out of your realm.
So hear me out, right? Hear me out. Goku's never been grounded in any of his power. He grew up being a human and knowing that he was, for whatever reason, different innately. He didn't know why. Eventually, he finds out that he's a Saiyan. He then transcends what is norms to be a Saiyan, becomes a Super Saiyan, goes on to have a family, goes on to save the world over and over again. I think he's never really, I think it's actually a good translation. I think he didn't know. I think he didn't trust it. I think he genuinely has had a disconnect to who he really is. And he's been fighting to find something for so long in the depths of the form of fighting. And he, even in himself, didn't understand what that was. And now, for the first time, with not from what Vegeta said, but from actually having those core memories unlocked, feels fully who he actually is. Because it's always been Grandpa Gohan. It's always been I gotta do for my family. It's always been I gotta do for planet Earth. And we've seen that expand as like you expand beyond Earth, you expand beyond the universe, even. And even in fighting people outside of the universe, Goku is still unable to fully tap back into the Ultra Instinct power for an entire arc, basically. And it's really not culminated until this arc that he's able to really kind of get some training, finally see the fruits of the training, and actually be able to enact the training in a controlled and constant effort. Because we know for a fact, every other Saiyan form that we've seen, you transform into it, you can transform back into it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until recently, these two latest forms, that we've seen a struggle with it, and now we see that the struggle has to do with an internal thing. And I think that this is where they're going with that wording. I think the wording is pretty spot on. If there's more to be said, I think it'll be said later on. But Toriyama isn't necessarily super wordy to begin with when it comes to breaking down like the lore and the like the power scaling type.
He's also notorious for forgetting his own lore.
And then he's gonna probably retcon this in like 100 chapters, so it's fine.
I can definitely appreciate that take, but I don't. Unlike all other shonen characters like Naruto, Deku, Goku's not a deep person. He's not a deep thinker, and that's something that requires some deep thinking. And his blind confidence has always been one of his assets, which is like he just constantly one-ups himself. You know, he constantly becomes better and better and better and better. So I don't think a fear of his power has ever, at least within the context of the writing of the anime and the manga, has never been something that he has worried about.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to make Goku a deeper character at this point, you know, at this point in the manga, he's like in his mid-40s. Like if he's about to become a deeper thinker because he's now had like some memories unlocked, I think that's fine for them to do, but at least in the past, I don't think we've ever had any indicator, and this is just my personal opinion, that he is as deep a thinker as what you're describing. But I think Vegeta would think that way.
I think that's the thing. The thing is, and I think that's what even pulls Vegeta along through the series. And again, I'm over contextualizing, obviously, but I think the thing is the reason, so like, for instance, I think Vegeta, when we meet Vegeta, one of his limiting factors is his fear of Frieza, his fear of people who are stronger than him in general. A fear that Goku in his own right just doesn't necessarily, he doesn't have that fear because he doesn't have that learned experience. He doesn't have a reason to fear Frieza to the extent to which other people have feared Frieza. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Buu. A lot of people are unaware of the destructiveness of what Buu is, but even Beerus was aware and acknowledges Buu's existence. So there's these different like components again of like what actually is being done for Goku. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think Goku himself realized that this was something that was a limiting factor for him because it didn't show up necessarily in the form of fear. It showed up in the form of perseverance. It showed up as in, I have to keep succeeding. I have to keep pushing past. I have to keep finding whatever is stronger. And I think, like you said, I'm reaching. I'm aware. I am off the screen. Pulling that back in
40 years
here,
later,
you know,
I mean,
but I don't
like I said,
I'd be totally
cool
I don't think they can
with
develop his character. I think he's still a flat character. I think no matter how much you try to add that perspective, he's still just going to be the goofy wanna fight Goku.
Right.
I think the only thing that this can do is be as a focal point to push his power to another level.
Right.
I don't think there's too much more that can be done with it personally.
To add to what Kendall is saying as well, because this freaking Namekian is so inconsistent with him saying he's low on energy and could heal, but that somehow he could heal both of them, and also you can materialize their own Saiyan outfits from Bardock out of nowhere, and you're so consistent saying you're out of energy then with energy, so it makes it inconsistent. But
he said he didn't have enough energy at one point.
And then
And
somehow he has both energy to heal
a
both
lot
of
of
them and
time,
materialize.
passed. Like I'm gonna say maybe 20 to 30 minutes passed
Okay.
in the
Gas had to
traveling.
fly from one
That's true.
planet to their
In the
planet.
traveling, because at one point they did say like it would
That
take him some
a
bit
while.
of time to
That's
get
true.
back.
Okay, okay.
So
I
he's
I appreciate
been,
the reminder, Kendall. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
he's I'm
So-
gonna give them 30 minutes,
All right.
maybe not a full
look-
hour, but somewhere in that ballpark of saying he had a little bit of time to rest up, just a little
But
bit.
joke aside, my point is that page in 7, it got me excited when the Mimic said, but first your clothes. Let me give you Bardock's outfit. And then what got me sad is like, it got me excited. That quick panel, next panel you read, it literally says, could I just have my original outfit back? I'm like, Goku, technically, if you
I'm
just
so
had
glad
your,
they did that.
if you had your memory back, your original outfit is technically the one you're wearing because you wore that as a baby when you got sent in the pod. So technically, that is your original outfit.
No,
But-
man, the
Hey.
gi is his.
The
It's-
gi,
I
and
know,
I'm about to say,
I know the
I think
gi
that's
is
on
his,
brand. I
but
think that's
it
on
would have been
brand.
symbolic that you just remember your father and
No,
you could
because
wear it.
it would have been we would have been saying that he threw away his whole entire character at that point. If he had
Agreed.
embraced
but
that, it would
then-
have been like, what was the point of everything we had watched to this point? Because he would have been throwing away his Earth heritage. He'd have been throwing away his training with the Kais, his training with Master Roshi. Like it's still
Corrin,
who he is,
everything.
right? Everything about him is still who he is. He just got that like final piece of the puzzle, basically.
Okay,
Maybe,
all right.
maybe.
Okay,
What
I
I,
guess
what
that's
I
just me.
think, what I really like about that moment is kind of what Kenny's saying as well, which is like, I think when the Bardock memory is unlocked for him, and Vegeta hears the audio as well, and they're talking about Saiyan pride, I think what they're really saying is they're just reminded of the fact that they are a warrior people, and their goal is to be the best that they can be personally.
Mhm.
Always be better than they were the day before, right? As a warrior race, they're constantly trying to, like I said earlier, one up themselves and become better within themselves, not for anybody else. So when Monaito gives them the Saiyan armor and they both reject it, they're like, can we just have our, like, the clothes that we like back?
Yeah.
It's kind of speaking to the fact that, again, they want to do it on their own. And
Mhm.
that also, we'll talk about predictions later. And I know Kenny thinks that they might fuse. But this is one reason why I think they might not fuse, is because Vegeta has shown many times that he despises fusion for that very reason. He likes to fight on his own despite getting his ass kicked all the time.
which not like, it got me excited that they actually fought together and agreed fighting a teamwork. I'm like, okay.
I mean, he's
I
been
really dig
edging-
that they're
he's
fighting
been
together. They're like a
edging
yin and
that-
yang.
He's been
That was
edging
so-
that in the entire Super series. Literally for every single arc, it gets pitched a little bit more. Every single arc, work together,
is true,
together.
but
You
here-
could- Whis actually says you guys could be so much stronger if you fought together.
And
it is
that-
literally
Both of them
always
don't
thrown
like
in the
it.
face.
Goku likes
And
to
when
do
he
alone.
says that, Vash, continue, sorry.
I was gonna say Goku likes to do alone because he has been used to Vegeta just at the pride. But if they actually let both of their own type of pride go for those certain reasons, they could be an unstoppable duo that could actually defeat Beerus in a battle like they've been trying to do. Go ahead, Chris.
I don't
I was
think.
gonna say,
I
I
think that's a
think-
joke. Still, I think they're not on Beerus's level. I think they keep teasing that as a thing.
Oh,
I
definitely
don't
not.
think they're close to Beerus's level
Look,
yet.
this is far fetched, but I know by the end of the series, if there is an end for Super, my hope is Vegeta becomes the next God of Destruction and Goku become the next Angel. I know that's a theory, a fan theory that people have
It
done
won't
fan
happen.
art for, but I'm like, yo,
Never.
that would look so beautiful.
I would,
that Goku
I would,
could
I
become
would
so.
stop. I would stop reading the series if Vegeta became a god of destruction.
And Goku, that's so far flung from his personality. Like
I
he just
know,
wants
It's
to
I know,
fight.
it's literally it's
I-
literally polar opposite. That's the funny part
know.
about it. It's literally
But
polar
I just find it
opposites
so
to their
funny if it actually
personalities.
happens because of the fan theories, the fan art that has been out of it. I should laugh so much about it. But Chris, go ahead.
I was saying, I think what Kenny's saying about them working together, and we always saying like you guys would be much stronger together than you are
Uh-huh.
apart if you learned how to fight together. I think we got I think we got the culmination of that in Broly
Mm-hmm.
when they fused to Gogeta and Gogeta finally became canon. I think
Mm-hmm.
because Whis
Best
even has a
version.
line in that movie where he's like, "See, I told you."
Mhm.
You know, I don't necessarily think it would happen again. I think the moment when they're fighting Broly, unless it's like under dire circumstances, but if they can learn how to fight a singular opponent and like match their fighting styles and coordinate separately outside of fusion, kind of like what they're doing
amplify
now.
amplify the strengths of each other without actually fusing together.
Exactly.
Essentially.
That's my hope for what happens, because like I just mentioned, I love that Goku is now mastering Ultra Instinct, which
Ooh.
is like this releasing of the ego, trust your body to act on its own.
The yin,
And
the
then you have
beautiful yin.
Vegeta, who's like, I need to be more egotistical. The more damage I take, the stronger I get. They're literally polar opposite powers. And even in that panel where they're both powering up, man, I can't wait to see this in color, because it's definitely like a yin and yang vibe. And if they can learn how to coordinate their fighting styles, I think they would be a really unstoppable team. And I'm kind of hoping that's what happens here without them having to fuse. Because again,
Chris,
going back to the Saiyan pride thing, it's about individuality, becoming better within oneself. And I just think that would work much better with the theme. But who knows? Toriyama will do whatever the fuck he wants.
Also, even to another point to that, Chris, is like the fact that I think also like as far as origin and the things that they've awakened to as far as like internally, is the fact that they are the legacy, they are the survivors, the continuation of this race. And to survive is to win. To survive is to be able to fight again. And I think that's another reality that's kind of hidden in here. It's like, well, we're still here. So we still have to keep surviving. We still have to keep winning. And on top of that, I think for even Vegeta as well, he has adopted some human traits as well, living on Earth for this time. So the idea of a family nucleus is very different for them than Saiyans of that time. So I think there's also kind of like an appreciation and callback there as well, because they're both fathers. It's something to be said about having that father figure, because they were both robbed of their father figures at a young age.
Right.
Well said.
I agree.
I was gonna say with Chris' transition about talking about the power-ups in this current chapter, how do we feel about the main bad? Because at first it was Granolah being the world's strongest, in which I'm like, makes no sense, because we have Beerus, the person who technically takes care of this whole universe, so that makes no logical sense. But these people don't know about Beerus, so for them, the world's strongest right now is Gas. It was originally Granolah, now turning to Gas. How do we feel about this main bad of Gas versus Vegeta and Goku round number 3, I think?
Pause. So I'm going to say this real quick. Whis and Beerus don't exist in the universe.
Correct, they don't.
So when you wish to be the strongest in the universe, that does not include Whis and Beerus.
And those people don't know about Beerus and Whis, not like Earth, who knows about them, aka
I think that would be a very specific wish. You would have to wish to be as strong as a god of destruction, wish to be as strong as an angel. That conceptually
good point
is something, because they're
I appreciate
the guardians and the caretakers of the universe. Yes. So you're wishing to be strong within the universe that they take care of. Like I said, I don't think they exist dynamically within the universe. So I think the Dragon Balls don't acknowledge that. Although we still gotta go back to the fact that what is these Dragon Balls and these Super Dragon Balls, and whose power really exists to do what when
they need to get to the Dragon Lore.
We need to We need to call back to GT. We need to know more about these Dragon Balls. I'm gonna need you to tell me why there's planet-sized Dragon Balls floating around in places. That's what I need to know.
Some huge ass balls. Where do you have them hidden? What vault are they at?
Right.
But yeah, Gas.
Don't they disguise themselves as planets?
Yeah, they're disguised. They're hidden as planets.
Yeah, that's true.
In different universes.
But for me, with
so
Gas
crazy.
being the main villain, I like that he is the counterpart for them, because he's not
Is he the main villain? Is he the main villain, Vash? Is he the main villain?
Was definitely the older brother, the one watching up there, Elect, for sure, because he, like, my boy's been staying quiet the whole time. Every time he looks like he's about to talk, he has a ... And when you know in manga, when you have a character having ... there's some shit that he's processing, thinking. So he's probably the main bad guy that he's about to pop out of nowhere, be like, you thought Gas was the strongest? I am the strongest, actually.
Well, we now know that every single one of the heaters has like a transformation.
Yes. Yeah. So for Gas being this character who's not Saiyan, but he's a person who wants to be the strongest, who also fights for battle, fights for this type of hunger. It reminds a lot about Vegeta, who literally has said in the last panel that I could bring up if I continue swiping so fast and talking to transition. Damage is nothing but a fuel for me. Do you realize what that means? I'm only getting stronger. And the same thing for Gas. Gas got stronger, and because of skills he hasn't tried out yet during this wish he did. But for Saiyans like Goku, Vegeta, like Gohan, if he ever fights again, the more you fight, the more you lose, and the more battle scars you get, the more stronger you get. That's the way Vegeta fights. For Goku, he fights and gets stronger by him analyzing and improving his speed, improving his power. So they both have a similar output, but the process is very different.
Right.
But for our
Vegeta's
boy
like brute
Gas,
force.
yes.
Goku doesn't get hit in Ultra Instinct if he's moving fast enough, and Vegeta needs to get hit.
So it's very interesting aspect, and that's what I like about Gas as his current main bat. How about you, Chris and Kendall? How y'all feel about Gas within this current past couple of chapters with Gas being this type of main villain?
Kenny, you can go first.
So I don't think Goku and Vegeta are suddenly strong enough to beat Gas yet. And there's some hints to that in this chapter that make me kind of, I think they're still about to get a little touched. There's a little bit more, and I think much to like what you said, Chris, bringing out each other's power and true potential and actually being able to fight with them may be then enough to push them beyond. But I think right now, as things currently stand, they're still not there yet. I think this is a good benchmark of a premise. I won't even say character. I think the premise of, well, I could just wish to be the strongest, which is, I think, is something that for a lot of us that have been watching Dragon Ball Z for so long has been like, why don't you just wish to be the strongest? You can't, yeah, maybe you can't wish for certain things, but I feel like that's always been something where it's like, that's not out of the realm of things. But now we see
it's like a broken plot element, though.
Yeah, now we've seen it at the forefront, and then on top of that, it was one thing. It was one thing we had. What's the old boy names before? What's the other guy, the sniper dude? The
Granolah.
Yeah, it was one thing to have Granolah before. Now you put someone who has, once again, someone who has a similar-esque disposition as Saiyans, as far as being able to get strong over time, as far as having a form that is a little more uninhibited and lets out your inner nature, which again is another key point that we have as an undertone to this series, is your inner true nature, and being able to control that nature. So I think what we have going on here, as far as him, I think he's a placeholder. This arc may be ending, but this story is just beginning. Yeah. And I'm actually really excited about seeing the way that Toriyama tries to continue pushing this forward, expanding on the world. I have a suspicious feeling that one of the other universes might get drawn back into this scenario again in a different dynamic kind of way. Because one of the best things I think about Zamasu and Goku Black was that overlaying of realities that kind of happened. I don't think we're going to touch that per se, but something in that same realm of like, what happens when you actually have someone who's smart enough to put greater consideration into their villainy. Like Frieza's a great villain in the sense of being a villain and being evil. Like he's evil. He's just definitely a tyrant. Evil. He's a tyrant without question. But now we're getting villains who have the ability to see beyond that next couple of steps. In Moro, and I think in the Elder Alec brother or Heather brother Alec, I think that it'll be interesting to see, because I think there's a lot more that can be done here. And I appreciate Toriyama taking time to not try to write everything at once that I feel like he sometimes does with his arcs. I feel like he's intentionally focusing on it. Like, I know where I want to go. Let me focus on giving you what I want right here in this moment. Let me keep you enthralled in this moment. And I've really been, as much as I like to smack on Dragon Ball, and I like to tell y'all it's a little mid at times, and it do be a little mid at times, like all series. All of our favorites have a little mid moment to them. I don't care what you say, One Piece included, Naruto included. There's those little moments where it's not always 10 out of 10. And that's okay. We have to acknowledge that. If you like something, you should be able to criticize it within reason. As far as, again, like to say as a villain, I'm hard pressed on saying he's a villain. He very much feels like a Vegeta type character, someone who could become an ally later kind of thing, even though we've already seen that with Granolah, basically, more or less. I think Granolah is still going to have like a coming to moment. Granolah's lifespan has been severely cut. We don't know what the ramifications, we don't know what the back end of the power up that heat gas has right now actually is, because there might be some ramifications to that actually has not been explained. Right. So there's still I think there's still a couple of things to be seen here. I'm interested in seeing what happens. I'm interested in seeing because Whis is paying attention to this, Beerus is paying attention to this from afar, kind of thing. I'm interested in just seeing what else happens. Much like you were saying, Chris, I'm not trying to put too much thought into it. I want to really just embrace where the writing is going. I'm actually not from the anime, but from the manga, I've actually gained a little bit more faith in Toriyama, and I want to see what he's capable of doing.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up the repercussions of gas becoming the strongest in the universe, because unlike Granolah, when he made the wish himself, the terms were made clear by the dragon in regards to what he has to give up for this wish to become a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Alec was the one who made the wish for gas to become the strongest in the universe, which means Alec at this point is the only one that knows what the ramifications are going to be, and he set the terms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I literally hadn't considered until you just brought it up right now. I'm very interested to see what the negatives are and what terms Alec agreed to, considering it's not him. It's his brother. It's his brother that's going to have to suffer whatever repercussions come with making that wish. Not him.
Unless it is him.
Maybe.
We don't have enough of a read on Alec's personality. He does seem to be the
how much he cares
sacrificing,
about gas,
but he does also seem to really care about them.
Maybe.
But it looks like he would sacrifice anybody in a heartbeat. So
I
agree with that.
I definitely see that.
Yeah. You know, in terms of your question, Vash, and like what do we think is Gas as a villain? In regards to his relationship with Goku and Vegeta, he's just a stronger opponent for them to overcome. His character ties are more tied to Granolah. So what I hope, and like you said, Kenny, you don't think like Goku and Vegeta are going to be able to beat him. I hope that we're going to see Granolah enter the fight again, and maybe like the three of them take him out, because there's no emotional weight or character weight to Vegeta and Goku defeating Gas. Like, it has to be Granolah. Granolah is the one that struggled with the heaters since he was a child. Mm-hmm. They killed his mother, you know? So
do you think
I'm hoping that
there's definitely that three-way tie as well, because you're talking about that connection, but we still haven't fully resolved Granolah's issue with the Saiyans either.
Right.
Exactly. That's not been fully alleviated.
We could get
but now he knows that it wasn't the Saiyans. He knows that he was deceived.
But we could get the Granolah and Goku team up versus Gas, because Goku and Granolah has those chemistry because of the father.
That would suck, dude.
And
it wouldn't suck. I would like seeing it, but I would feel so bad for fucking Vegeta.
Yeah, but look, what you're saying emphatically is that Vegeta is not a factor.
He's gonna get knocked out.
He's gonna get knocked out or something.
Because look, what Toriyama would do, aka Goku and Frieza did the team up versus Jiren. It's the same thing here where Goku and Granolah could do the team up versus our boy Gas. Gas, what he could do, knock the living, slap that shit out of Vegeta to the rock and be like, yo, stay down, bitch. And then Goku and Granolah comes out of nowhere and be like, all right, you fight another style. Boom, boom, boom. They probably win. That's just my theory out there, since we went to the realm of what
probably
could be coming next.
More likely.
That is a possible theory that I feel like could happen, and what I believe could be in the next couple of chapters.
A whole nother baddie out there that's just going to come in and interrupt the whole entire fight.
I would love to see the heaters interact with Frieza.
I need to see that. They can't die. They can't die here, unfortunately.
They had to show the end of this arc, at least one of the heaters talking to Frieza, because they just kept saying that they've been looking to kill, rob, thief, or something about Frieza that they've been trying to do about him. So
and they've been hired by him.
Let me bring my mic closer. This would be a great opportunity, as we are retconning things, to give me cooler again. Thanks.
Oh my God. I will hope to get cooler. That design. I don't give a fuck about the father. Have the father die and stay in hell, but definitely have cooler, bro. It would be dope to just bring him back to
out of the realm of possibility.
I totally forgot about him. No lie.
We got a better version of Broly, so I won't discredit that.
That is true. Any last thoughts overall of what you hope to see in the next couple of chapters? We know the Dragon Ball superhero movie is coming this summer. Do you feel like there'll be some type of connection with the movie or with this, or do you think the manga will still stay away from what's been going with the movie with Broly and then superhero? Or do you, overall, in the last thoughts, will you hope to see the ending of this arc of Granolah?
I'm not going to go too far ahead in my hopes. I'm only going to go into the next chapter. My hopes are that Vegeta gets a good fight for a full chapter. I don't want his ass to get knocked out in like 4 panels in the next chapter. Like, I really want him to get some type of redemption. And I know that's not his destiny. It's never been his destiny. But like, now that he's mastered or seemingly gotten better at using Ultra Ego, I just want to see him use it to his fullest capacity. In terms of how the current Granolah arc is connecting to Superhero, I'm sure both of you have watched Geekdom 101's channel on YouTube before. He's a Dragon Ball obsessive, a
He's
great
like
content creator.
He's top one of the Dragon Ball fandom.
Right. He's spoken with people involved in the production of Superhero, and he asked them what if they thought that Ultra Ego was going to be in the movie, and their response to that was, "What's Ultra Ego?"
Oh.
So that to me signifies that Toei and Shueisha don't have a ton of communication in regards to what's currently happening. Toei's probably super focused in on what they're doing with Superhero. We know that Superhero is like a little bit closer to the end of Z, which is great. I'm glad we're finally getting into that era of Dragon Ball. So I personally don't expect to see a lot of the manga specific things in Superhero, especially with all the marketing that's been surrounding like Gohan's new form and Piccolo's new form. They're really going to focus in on that stuff, I think.
I'm all for it.
So yeah, I want to get your hopes up in terms of a lot of connecting, but who knows? I would love to be surprised. I think that would be awesome.
And how about you, Kendall?
I think in regards to the movie and Heroes, I don't think it's Vegeta's time yet for a movie. Much like you said, I think there's a like I said earlier, you kind of already gave Gohan his just desserts in the manga for the Tournament of Power. I think the movies have, for Super specifically, have been canon. Therefore, I expect this movie to also be canon.
Agreed.
And I think that that's why it was important for the season not to start immediately after, because I'm guessing that the canon of this movie is before this arc.
It's supposed to be after this arc.
Is it after? Was it definitively after? Okay, well,
I believe so.
So if it is after, it's still something to say, to see like which direction they decide to take it in. Because if it is, again, we're getting Vegeta and Goku development right now.
Right.
There's no reason for me to see that in a movie then, if it's going to be something that's, and I think I would be more hyped to watch that week to week, episode to episode in the anime versus having it thrown together haphazardly in a movie. No disrespect to the movies, but it would be a lot more clunkier than if you were to be able to watch it episode to episode for the anime series. As far as predictions going in, I also am not going to go too far. I did outlandishly say earlier, wild prediction that we're going to see some type of Ego Ultra Instinct crossover fusion.
Yo, if we get a fusion from Heroes into Jungle Super manga,
I've just spoken it into the universe is what happens. So we'll see what happens now that I've spoken it into the universe. But for me, so what I see is a typical Toriyama style power struggle where Vegeta has his highs and lows, Goku has his highs and lows, Gas maybe gets pushed back into a wall again, maybe a little bit less control is had over that primal form or that untapped form that we kind of got a glimpse of. Maybe he kind of slips back into that a little bit. Something to that extent is something that I could foresee. Unfortunately, that's as far as I want to try and imagine it. I just want to see the conclusion. It's not going to be the conclusion, I think, but I want to see the fight itself happen. I think we got glimpses of the fight happening, so we're going to get a little bit more of the fight. Unlike Chris, I don't think I want to see Vegeta get his shine first. I want to see Goku try to take control and be knocked out of his element still. And then I want to see Vegeta's fruits come in a little bit stronger, maybe still not be enough. And then again, I'm still with you on team. They need to work together to bring out the best in each other. If Granolah ends up being the final person or thing that kind of ties that whole thing together, that's also a good reality of like, damn, we're missing something. Like you're not catching something. And Granolah's like, dude, you guys just aren't seeing this thing. And he's like, he kind of ties them together basically.
What if he like
in some
snipes
kind of form.
Gas from afar in the middle of the fight? Like we know he's in the process of healing right now. So like, what if that's his re-entry into the battle? I think in a crucial moment, sniping.
I don't
Gas
mind because it will work for his character.
to save, yes, but I think Granolah also
Not to
has a lot
defeat.
of
No.
a
Yeah, of
lot of
course.
pride,
To
and I
save.
don't think he
Close
would try
comeback.
to. I don't think he would try to end it in that manner. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
well,
I don't want
fortunately, I
that.
don't think he
Definitely
would end it in that
would be
manner.
terrible. But
Again,
definitely Snipe.
I
to
don't know
save.
if Gas even ends up dying in this interaction.
Maybe not.
I think the Heathers end up backing away from this for some period of time, and we might end up getting some, going deeper into my predictions. You might get some side Heather story and some continued side Saiyan story. And I think that's where the direction of things is probably going to ultimately end up going. And I'm just interested in seeing how Toriyama decides to handle that. He could end them here. He could, but I think that introducing someone else that has a deep founded connection to Frieza at this point, preserving Frieza, making him part of the Tournament of Power, I think there's something deeper here that's going to build into that world, because the Frieza Force is something crazy. Like, we keep touching on it and not touching on it, but it is really something crazy that even in Frieza's absence over multiple iterations, Frieza Force still continues to be running the streets, the space streets. like
who
really
the fuck
out
is
here.
telling you what to do? Like, what commander, what lieutenant is literally saying, let's control this planet still, let's go take this. Like, how do you know Frieza's still alive, gonna come back?
Again, and that's why I have my
We do know that they
my
weren't
far
as
pitch.
they weren't as effective
They
Yes,
definitely
in
weren't.
Frieza's absence. But
Definitely
now, with Frieza being back, we know that they're out there doing terrible things.
Yeah, you monkeys do that. Yes, you
Yeah,
monkeys.
they're expanding their power
Jeez.
for sure. But again, like I said, cooler, or
Yes, please, cooler.
or some other character that has not existed yet that is also part of the family.
That'd be cool. No pun
Frieza's
intended.
cousin, Fridge.
You know, there's been talks about a sister in the tribe. There's been talks
I've
about
heard of that,
on
yeah.
the internet. So
I've heard of that.
We'll see. We'll see what
lots
happens.
Lots of fan service happening in Super. So you never know what we could get.
Might happen in Heroes. It's more likely to happen there.
Anything is possible in Heroes.
Definitely possible. Kids, you should be watching Heroes. If you love Dragon Ball or love fighting, go watch Heroes.
And it's on YouTube.
It's on
Just
YouTube.
search,
It's
just
free.
search superheroes.
It's
just
free.
Watch Dragon Ball Heroes. It's fine.
My thoughts for Gas and what we hope to see is, look, I would love to see Fusion. For those that know, Gogeta's my favorite. He's a cock-ass motherfucker, and he's the better half of Goku. He's the free spill version, infused Vegeta flavor of being cocky and confident. You got the little nice spice into it. So I'd love to see a fusion, but I see that more dual teamwork. I see Toriyama doing more of the Frieza and Goku, aka Goku and Granolah versus the Jiren versus aka the Gas. We could get the little shock and twist that Elec is the real big bad. Who knows? Because whenever you have somebody watching from top high, you know that he has something, being raised sneaking up your sleeve. So it's very type of shonen trope. So it could be possible. Do I hope to see more of a conversation after this arc? Maybe Goku asking about what does a Saiyan do? What's the pride? What it is? Maybe them actually talk to each other like Kakarot and Vegeta. Do we have Goku accept that word more? Will he go from Goku to Kakarot? No. But will he let other people that are Saiyans, aka Vegeta, actually call him Kakarot without trying to scream it or say it's a diss? So there's those possibilities that I would like to see that conversation. Will Goku actually open up his feelings and be like, yo, so we're actually like our only people out here. Maybe I should teach this to my son Gohan, what a Saiyan pride is. Will we see that father figure Gohan? I mean, Goku? Hell to the hell no. But would I like to see that? Would I hope to see that little sprinkle type of area around the next 2,500 chapters of Jungle Super, however long goes? Maybe, perhaps. But I have these type of optimistic hopes of what we can see of Super. Definitely, I see that dual team up instead of trio. Would I like to see a trio instead? Yes. But thing is, Vegeta don't get that shine. He ain't Sasuke, he ain't Bakugo, he ain't these side characters that actually get shine. So Vegeta is the one that gets slapped to the Vegeta's OG, but he's the OG getting a slap to the face, thrown to the ground, thrown to the rock, and getting his face stepped by another bad guy's foot. So sadly, hopefully Gas don't do it anytime soon, because if he does, it's always that left arm that gets broken. I believe it's that left arm, right? Or is that right arm?
It's
right
the
arm,
right
right?
arm.
The
The
right
right
arm.
arm
Yes, the
that
right.
18
Yeah.
breaks. Yeah.
Yes, always the right hand that breaks. So hopefully Gas to do it, and if he does it, it's a routine in every arc. Cell, Frieza, everyone does it. So if it does, but I hope Toriyama executes this well. More arc, last 3 chapters. This seems like it could be end in the next 3 to 4 chapters. So we just have to see what comes up in the next 3 to 4 months. Will we be satisfied as fans, or would we have a sour taste in our mouth like the more arc? So with that being the case, anybody has any last things they want to say before we head out with the episode? Nope.
The last thing I'll say really quickly, and we don't have to go on a long tangent. The beam struggle with the Hakai was fucking dope, regardless of how it ended. I love
Ditto.
seeing Goku and Vegeta push the Hakai toward Gas and him push it back.
It worked very well. I love how they both jump in the air. It reminded me a lot of Goku doing that in the tournament power to the Chick Brawley version of Universe 6. The way he did that with Vegeta, if the song hit in my head, I'm like, da, 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 boom! 64 different camera angle shots in
Yeah.
1 millisecond happened. So I feel like that went in my head. I'm just happy Vegeta had the moment too with Goku this time, so that's pretty dope. So I agree, Chris. That was a good way to end the show as well. Kendall, get anything you want to add that's hype as well?
Sitting in my Dragon Ball bonnet.
That's a good way. So
I
for
dig it.
those that like us and the panelists, you can find the link tree where to find them, the Popaholics channel, the Conquer Movement, everything else on where to find us on social media. And if you like this content, it was much longer than I said. I said we should do for 30 minutes. Guess what? It was under an hour, but hopefully you guys were entertained. Enjoy the conversation of the breakdown of Goku, Vegeta, and the Granolah arc itself and the Dragon Ball Super manga. If you want more, stay tuned for next month. We will come back with more content on Dragon Ball Super. And if you have any questions for us, hit us on the Twitter, hit us in the comments. If anything, we will follow up with those comments next month for sure. Other than that, like, subscribe, press the notification, the whole shebang, the whole YouTube model that every other YouTuber content creator says it. Other than that, we'll see you on the next one in a month.